Wow. Man arrested for attempted murder at the house of Brett Kavanaugh, the Supreme Court Justice, conservative justice. And we're going to be talking about tonight's televised hearings on the insurrection of January 6th. But first, I'm not sure who I feel more sorry for, Jimmy Kimmel or Joe Biden. Did you watch? I did.
In September of 2019, and one of the things we talked about at length was gun violence. And you said that we need to do something about this gun violence, particularly when it comes to our schools. And here we are, a couple years later. We're halfway through this year already. There have been, 27 shootings at schools? I guess, just to get into it, why haven't we done anything about this?
Well, I think a lot of it's intimidation by the NRA. And look, this is not your father's Republican Party. This is a MAGA party. It's a very different Republican Party.
Intimidation by the NRA. And look, this is not your father's party. This is a MAGA party. Let me deal with the NRA part first. All right. Why do people vote the way they vote? Politicians. Number one, because it's their ideology. Number two, because they think it's what their constituents want. Number three, it's what their party wants. Joe Biden implies it's the intimidation of the NRA. NRA has about 4 million people. There are 350 million people in the country. The NRA last year spent $4 million on lobbying. How much did the pharmaceutical industry spend? Well over $100 million. The business industries like the Chamber of Commerce, well over $100,000. The insurance industries, well over $100 million. They say 100,000, $100 million, substantially dwarfing what the NRA is spending. The teachers union spends way more money every single year than does the NRA. Now, if all you have to do is write a check and you have the power over somebody, which is what Joe Biden is implying, the NRA donates money to various Republicans like Ted Cruz. I think you get $30,000 from them. And it's the intimidation of the NRA. If you're the NRA and you can intimidate somebody by writing a check, why write a check to somebody who already is on your side? Why write a check to somebody who already believes that the so-called common sense gun control measures won't do anything to stop these shootings? We got to be talking about hardening the targets. We're going to be talking about the breakdown of the family. That's how people on the right feel. That's how Ted Cruz feels. That's how I feel. But it's the intimidation of the RA. Then why don't you write a check to the Democrats? Why not write a check to Adam Schiff, Nancy Pelosi? Write a check to Chuck Schumer? Because after all you have to do is write a check and then you'll have the ability to intimidate them. It's just insulting. Secondly, this is not your father's party. It's the MAGA party, meaning Trump. Well, it's interesting. That means prior to Trump, the Democratic Party was a great party. These guys loved the Democratic Party prior to Trump. Then riddle me this. Why has the Washington Post never in its history ever endorsed a Republican for president? Because after all, according to Joe Biden, those were the glory days. Those are the good old days before Donald Trump. Those were the days of Ronald Reagan, the days of George Herbert Walker Bush, the days of George W. Bush. That was the good party. Then how come the Washington Post in its history never, ever endorsed a Republican for president? And the New York Times has not endorsed one since 1956. Jimmy Carter over Ronald Reagan? Are you kidding me? Michael Dukakis over George Herbert Walker Bush? Are you kidding me? Yes. But according to Joe Biden, that's when the party was a good old party. You know that Ronald Reagan was called a fascist? Oh, yeah. The then governor of California, Governor Jerry Brown, after Ronald Reagan got nominated at the Republican convention in 1980, Jerry Brown said, "The stench of fascism is in the air." Don't they call Donald Trump a fascist too? Are you seeing a theme here? George Herbert Walker Bush, he was called a wimp. There's a cover of either Time magazine or Newsweek, I forget which one. He's sailing a boat. It's called The Wimp Factor. It's called a wimp. Nancy Pelosi called him an oil man. But they were the good party. And don't get me started on George W. Bush. Bush lied, people died. The Bureau DC chief of the Associated Press, a man named Ron Fournier, said, and I'm quoting, "George W. Bush lied us into the war," close quote. A cartoonist named Aaron, forget his last name, he does the Boondocks. He called Condoleezza Rice, the former Secretary of State, a warmonger because of the Iraq War. Bush lied, people died. Bush lied, people died. What did Ted Kennedy say? Week after week after week, we heard lie after lie after lie. But that was a good party. That was your father's party, says Joe Biden. Are you sensing a theme here? It doesn't matter. If you are a Republican, these guys think you're bad people. They think you're evil. Dare I say fascists. I saw a poll. 61% believe that Republicans are racist, sexist, bigoted. Half the country, racist, sexist, bigoted. But prior to Donald Trump, it was your father's party. They were good guys. They called them fascists and Nazis, and yes, racist even then. Doesn't matter. Every 4 years, what do? They trot out David Duke. And they accuse Republicans of not denouncing David Duke. So Joe Biden implies to Jimmy Kimmel, well, I tell you what, until Donald Trump came along, this was a good party. These are good guys. I mean, you could sit down with them and you could just have a taco. Remember what Harry Reid said? This is before Donald Trump ever arrived on the scene. I don't understand why any Hispanic would ever vote for a Republican. Need I say that again, he said? You remember what they did to Mitt Romney, Harry Reid? Mitt Romney running for president in 2012, and for a time, it appeared he might make Barack Obama a one-term president. Oh my goodness. Harry Reid, leader of the Democrats in the Senate, goes on the floor of the Senate and says, the word on the street is that Mitt Romney has not paid any taxes in 10 years. Let him prove it if he hasn't. But that's the word on the street. Harry Reid knowingly lied about the party that was the good party, says Joe Biden. And years later, Harry Reid is on CNN after he's out of office. And the CNN host asked him about this. Her name is Dana Bash. And she says, you were on the floor of the Senate and you knowingly lied? How do you feel about that? And Harry Reid admitted that he lied and said, and I'm quoting, well, he didn't win, did he? Close quote. Knowingly lied about Mitt Romney. This is a guy who, same woman his whole life. It's a guy who did 2 years of a humanitarian mission in France, as you do if you're a Mormon. A guy who's never smoked, never even drunk coffee, doesn't drink. He's a choir boy. And he was maligned as somebody who never paid taxes in 10 years. He was maligned as a dog abuser. You remember that? He traveled across the country, put his dog on top of the car in a kennel, and that made him an abuser. And Paul Begala, a top aide of Bill Clinton, said that when Mitt Romney was a teenager at a prep school in Michigan, he led a band of people to hold down a kid who had dyed his hair blue. In those days, nobody did that. and apparently he was a gay kid or suspected of being gay, and Mitt Romney supposedly held the kid down and cut his hair. Mitt Romney said he didn't recall the incident. The gay kid's family, assuming he was gay, said the kid never mentioned it at all. He had since died, I believe, of AIDS, but his family said he never mentioned it. And Paul Begala went on TV, blasted Mitt Romney for that, and wrote a column that said, "Once a bully, always a bully." But according to Joe Biden, this was the good party, the party of your father. And now it's not like that anymore. They treated them like dogs then. They treat Republicans like dogs now. I'll be right back. Now, a man has been arrested for threatening to murder Judge Brett Kavanaugh. Watch this news clip.
Breaking news, a Simi Valley man has been charged with trying to kill Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh. Officials say 26-year-old Nicholas Roske showed up to Kavanaugh's home around 1 this morning carrying a gun, a knife, zip ties, and other items. Criminal complaint says that Roske told police he intended to break into Kavanaugh's home and kill him. He said he was upset by the leaked draft opinion to overturn Roe versus Wade and the school massacre in Uvalde, Texas.
So he's upset about the leaked draft opinion, by the way, which was not Kavanaugh's opinion. It was Alito's opinion that would overturn Roe v. Wade. So I'm going to kill you. And I'm upset about the mass shooting in Uvalde. So I'm going to kill Brett Kavanaugh because presumably Brett Kavanaugh would be strong on the Second Amendment. Are you connecting the dots here? Here is what MSNBC-Haw's Pete Williams said about this.
Jose, we've been told by several law enforcement officials that a man was arrested overnight near the home of Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh. He was armed with a gun, a knife, and pepper spray, and told authorities that he was there to kill the justice. Now, he was not arrested at the home of the justice. He is arrested nearby. Law enforcement officials tell us that the man actually arrived by taxi and was seen by police and other law enforcement officials that were near the justice's house. So he was arrested. He was taken into custody.
This is where we are now in America. I watch a lot of CNN and MSNBC, so you don't have to. They had a guy on named Ely Mistal. He is a lawyer, used to work with one of the major law firms in the country called Debevoise Plimpton. He comes on MSNBC a lot. He's got white hair, black guy. He looks like a troll. I mean, when the hood trolls you put on your car. I don't think I've seen anybody that angry since Jussie Smollett. Anyway, he was talking about the questions that Senator Josh Hawley was asking Ketanji Brown Jackson, about her judicial philosophy. And he said, he's trying to get her killed by asking her whether or not she is basing some of her decisions on critical race theory, which is what Hawley was asking about. He's trying to get her killed. So you can't even ask a judicial Supreme Court nominee about her judicial philosophy if she's black and if she's female and if you're Republican, because you're trying to get her killed. Now, there was a bill proposed by voice vote, we thought, to provide additional security for Supreme Court justices on the same day this man got arrested for trying to murder Brett Kavanaugh. And Speaker Pelosi and the Democrats failed to comply and bring the bill to vote. Now, here is what Jonathan Turley is an interesting guy. He is a Democrat lawyer, voted for Obama twice, appears on Fox News a lot because he is one of these rare public Democrats who's fair. He tries to say it as it really is, stripping the emotion, stripping the anger. And here's what he said about where we are now in this country. This is Jonathan Turley.
Attacks on this institution for years, coming particularly from Democratic politicians. You had AOC saying that she didn't really understand the value anymore of the institution itself of the Supreme Court. And so the institution's been under attack, but now we're seeing individual justices who are under attack. The image of this black-clad assassin standing outside the home of one of our justices should be a sobering moment for the entire nation, that this has gone too far, this age of rage. We're becoming addicted to rage as a nation. And we have to come together as sensible people.
But this has been going on for some time. You heard what I just now said. Ronald Reagan gets nominated. The stench of fascism is in the air. George Herbert Walker Bush, oil man, dastardly oil man. George W. Bush, Bush lied, people died. Mitt Romney, once a bully, always a bully. These guys have been doing this well before Donald Trump. Maybe, just maybe now, some people might take another look at it. For example, you remember when Chuck Schumer, standing outside the Supreme Court, said this?
Stand here today because behind me, inside the walls of this court, the Supreme Court is hearing arguments, as you know, for the first major abortion right cases since Justices Kavanaugh and Justices Gorsuch came to the bench. We know what's at stake. Over the last 3 years, women's reproductive rights have come under attack in a way we haven't seen in modern history. From Louisiana to Missouri to Texas, Republican legislatures are waging a war on women, all women. And they're taking away fundamental rights. I want to tell you, Gorsuch, I want to tell you, Kavanaugh, you have released the whirlwind, and you will pay the price. You won't know what hit you if you go forward with these awful decisions.
You won't know what is he saying? Supreme Court justices have a lifetime tenure. So what else can you do to them? Other than what? Threaten violence? War on women, all women. Have you seen polls that show a greater percentage of women than men are pro-life? So are women waging a war on women too? And you will pay the price? Do you know that it is illegal to protest at a judge's home? There are laws against it. But when Jen Psaki was asked about that, here is what she said.
Believe, of course, in peaceful protests. What I do find is interesting, and I think many people have noted, is that there are voices on the right who have called out this protests that are happening while remaining silent for years on protests that have happened outside of the homes of school board members.
Okay. Peaceful protests, okay. It's illegal, peaceful or not. Don't you know the law? My goodness. And don't get me started on Maxine Waters.
Pay the cost. Let's make sure we show up wherever we have to show up. And if you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome anymore, anywhere.
Can you imagine if people gathered around some of the cabinet appointees of Joe Biden, if they gathered around Pete Buttigieg? Can you imagine if they protested the home of Ketanji Brown Jackson, of Sonia Sotomayor, of Elena Kagan? Are you kidding me? They would run out of pitchforks. But it's perfectly okay. Where's the media? We're sensible in the media. Where are all the responsible people on the left going, well, I think this has gone a little too far? Isn't that what Joe Biden was elected for? He's going to calm the nation down. Whatever you want to say about Joe Biden, he's the get along kind of guy. He's going to say, we should turn down the temperature because Donald Trump ratcheted it up. Look at these people. Look at these people. They are unhinged. Now, to continue watching the show live, you got to go over to Epic Times TV. Epic Times TV. We're going to take a break. When we come back, Biden's approval now lower than was Donald Trump at the same time during Trump's presidency, despite the overwhelmingly negative press Trump got and overwhelmingly positive press Joe Biden's got, despite the disastrous decision one after another after another. We'll be right back. People have been asking me, what have you been doing with your life since the election? Well, the truth is I've been enjoying life, riding my bike around town.
Oh, they're not wearing a mask.
I've taken up a little bit of fishing as well.
Elder kills innocent fish.
And I've been posting on social media. Oh, come on. Listen, if you're tired of the censorship as I am, I've actually got some great news for you. Check out epictv.com. It's a brand new censorship-free video platform where you'll find not only my show, but other deep documentaries, great content, and honest movies that bring you the news without all the spin and the false narratives. So, check out epictv.com. I'll see you there.